Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to another video. Today we are talking about the needle, the gauge for the oil pressure of your engine. You may already know that I did a video about the sensor or the switch for the oil pressure, and so you may have a similar problem that I am describing here. You already test the pressure of your engine, the oil pressure. The oil pressure is good, okay? The light of the switch turns off when you turn on the engine, but the behavior of the needle is not correct. The needle stays all the way down to zero or is always on top, does not work all the time, or when it works, does not work at the pressure that is supposed to work. So on this video, I'll try to explain you how to test the needle, the wiring, the sensor, everything in between, the links, the plugs, everything without replacing not even one part. So you may know this engine, this is the Álvaro, and the sensor for the pressure of the oil may be different on some other engines. But on this case is on top of the starter motor on this passenger side of the car, passenger being on the left-hand drive, okay? And you are here, it's not difficult, it's just over there above the starter motor, that red wire, okay? The first thing that I like to do is to take out the wire, you just pull it out, and if the wire pulls out very easily, you already may know what's the problem, okay? Because the contact points must be really strong. The test that I like to do is by exclusion. Now, what you want to do is to take your wire that is attached to the wiring loom, okay, and grab a testing wire, just a simple wire, and on the one end you have this connector, and you want to connect this on the negative side of the battery, of the body, whatever you want to do. I like to do it over here because it is really available, and in this way we can test a bunch of things. Here it is, connected over here. So this wire is just temporary, it's just for testing. Don't bother with the position and fixing of the wire unless it goes to a really bad place, like the belts, for example, okay? So no worries. And now you are going to test inside of the car what you should see. So switch on the ignition and you should see this. The needle of the gauge must go all the way to the maximum of the scale. And why is that? As you may understand, you need positive and negative to make that gauge work. Now, you have positive directly from the ignition, okay? As soon as you switch on the ignition, you always have positive, and the negative travels through the sensor on the engine. The more negative the sensor lets through, the more you have pressure on your needle. I don't know if I can make myself be clear, but if you want to, I can explain you better on the comments below, for example. So, the more passage, the resistance inside the sensor lets through by the pressure of the oil, okay? The more pressure of oil you have, the less resistive is the sensor, the more the gauge will show you. In this way, you can test, we are testing everything, every single centimeter of wire, every plug, every connection. We are testing the cluster, we are testing the positive to the gauge, we are testing the gauge itself, okay? Everything is being tested right now and everything is okay. The only way to test even better this situation is to actually drive your car like this, because with the bumps of the road, with the torsion, the wiring loom actually bends, okay? And if you have a bad wiring, you should see it right now. Okay, if after 1 week or 1 month driving like this and everything is okay, the needle is always pointing to 8 bar, okay, a little bit more, you really have a problem on your sensor. Of course, if you have tested the actual pressure of the engine oil first. Okay, now you discover that the problem is indeed the sensor, and normally that is the case, but see very well if the connections to the sensor are correct, are good, if the wire is not oxidized, for example. If it is, replace whatever you need to replace. Now, you replace whatever you need to replace, and you want to see if the readings that you have on your cluster are correct. Now, I will guide you with my car, with my readings, because I think these readings are really nice. The car has 30 years, and the oil pump, I think, is original. So I will guide you cold and hot, what are the pressures that I have on my car. So switching on the ignition, you should see about 0 on the pressure, because you only have oil pressure when you have the engine running. If it is a dry sump, I think it's different, but no matter now. So the car is really cold, you can see over there, and the oil pressure is on 6 bar. When I accelerate, I don't see any increase on the pressure. I think at this stage you must have the spring, the bypass of your spring is actually maybe working right now. The above 6 bar, it may open your bypass. This is the reading that I have cold, okay? And now I will drive the car a little bit more to surface temperature and see the behavior of the pressure when it is on idle, accelerating, and anything in between. Now at 50 degrees of the engine, the temperature of the engine, we have about 4.5, 5 bars. And when accelerating, 6. At 80 degrees, about 3 minutes of driving, we have here 4 bar, accelerating to 6. So yes, this is the general behavior of my oil pressure. I'm driving for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and I still have at idle 2 bar. But I know when I'm driving for more time, my idle pressure drops to 1 bar. But I think that is not a problem. So my conclusion is, even when your engine is at service temperature, your oil is not. Even though the temperature of the engine is already at service temperature for about 5 to 10 minutes, your oil is still trying to get warm. Okay, once the oil is warm, the pressure, for example, now I am at 2 grand of RPM, 60 kilometers an hour, and the pressure of the oil is always at 4 bars. It stays like this for most of the rev range. Okay, it only goes to 6 if I really push it. 3000 RPM, 5 bar, 3,500 RPM, still 5 bar. Okay, now naturally when it goes to idle, it drops to 2 or 1 bar. So this is the normal, I think is the normal behavior of the oil pressure of the oil pump. If you have any questions or doubts or any ideas or something else, for example, this video was a request. I already did this job once or twice because I have a friend who lives here in Portugal, and he actually sells a lot of old Alfa Romeo parts, and he had an Alfa 75, a 1.8 liter, and he had some problems with this particular problem. He had a lot of clusters and a lot of things to experiment and try to see if everything was okay, and nobody could do this diagnosis, and he already had spent a lot of money and labor, of course, to try to solve this problem. I did this experiment in front of him and took about 5 minutes to discover what was wrong with it. So sometimes it's really not expensive and not difficult at all to solve, to diagnose, to do research on the malfunction if you know what you are looking for, if you understand the principles of working of the systems. So this system you can apply this principle of working on a lot of cars, on a lot of brands, makes and models of course, and in other systems as well. Guys, I really hope you like this video. I hope you can consider subscribe, share with your friends, and hit the like button. Also, on the description below, there is a lot of information that can be useful for you about the videos related to this one, other videos, and helps for the channel, like for example, Patreon or PayPal. See you next time, guys. Bye.